Beloved chosen one, stop what you are doing. Listen, because heaven has just paused everything around you for this divine moment. The 2nd of July is not an ordinary day. It was never meant to be, before time itself knew your name. This very day was written into eternity. It's a scheduled intervention, orchestrated not by man, not by algorithm, but by the living God. You are not scrolling by chance. You are not hearing these words by coincidence. This is your summons. You've been targeted for rescue. 2 angels have already been dispatched, mighty. Warrior Angelson, orders from the throne of heaven. They carry not just wings, but fire. Not just presence, but power. And they have come for you. Heaven has marked you, and the clock is ticking. 21 minutes. That's all. The countdown has already begun. The reason? You've been trapped in a cycle that was never yours. Chains that were forged by lies, fear, and bloodlines that came before you. Cycles of delay, cycles of sabotage, cycles of warfare, so subtle. You began to call it normal, but no more. You are not normal. You were never built to blend in. You were never designed to drown in darkness. You are different. You are light. You are marked. And today, the rescue begins. The enemy knows what this day is. He's terrified. That's why you've been feeling confusion rising, doubts stirring, weariness crawling into your bones. It's not you, it's the war. Hell is panicking, because heaven has set your name in motion. You have not been forgotten. You have been protected, even when it felt like silence, even when the answers didn't come, even when the nights were long and the tears were too many to count. The silence wasn't absence, it was strategy. God was gathering heaven's best. 2 angels assigned to your life. And the 2nd of July is their release date. Do you feel it? The weight on your chest. That's not fear, it's the pressure of glory. Resting. Your spirit is recognizing something your mind hasn't yet caught up with. This is real. This is happening. This is holy. You have questions. Why me? Why now? Because God has seen what others missed. You've cried in rooms full of people. You've stood when it cost you everything. You've kept going when quitting would have been easier. You've warred silently, obeyed quietly, waited patiently. That kind of faith doesn't go unnoticed. You are not invisible to God, and because you've endured in the silence, God is now responding in public. He is not sending help tomorrow. He has already sent it. The angels are near. They are watching, waiting for your yes. But don't misunderstand, this is not passive help. This is urgent intervention. They do not come to advise you. They come to pull you out. As we read in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, when you walk through fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Why that verse? Because you've been in the fire long enough. But fire doesn't scare. The chosen, it reveals us. You're coming out of this refined, not ruined, strengthened, not shattered. This message is not to make you feel better. It's to wake you up. You are in a now moment, not a next season, not a someday. Now. And heaven is waiting on your response. Not next week, not later tonight. Now, because this is not a message. It's a warning sealed in mercy. If you wait too long, if you dismiss this as coincidence or emotion, the moment will pass. the window will close. And though God is a God of grace, grace often moves on when we don't. This is not punishment. This is a rescue. 2 angels, one to war, one to lead. But the doorway is your yes. The handle is your response. And what you do right now determines what happens next. So hear me. Chosen one, if this has pierced your heart, if your spirit is shaking, if your breath caught for just a second when you heard these words, it's because the angels have found you and heaven is waiting. Comment the number 21, the number of divine response. 21 minutes. That's what you've been given. Mark your agreement before the window closes. If this word stirred something deep inside you, share it right now. Don't let this anointing stop with you. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so you never miss the moments heaven chooses to speak again. This is not the end. This is the escape, and the rescue has already begun. You've been surrounded by battles that no one saw, fought in silence, wept in secret, and through it all, something in you refused to collapse. You kept standing barely, maybe but still standing. What you didn't realize is that every private battle had witnesses in the unseen realm. Hell watched and targeted. Heaven watched and covered. There have been forces around you, schemes sent to drain your strength and steal your clarity. You've questioned why things fell apart so quickly when you were trying so hard to do right. Why relationships soured the moment you started healing. Why the money dried up when you finally tried to break the cycle. None of it was random. The moment you began to shift spiritually, mentally, emotionally, the enemy issued an assignment. You were no longer asleep. And darkness always fears the awakened. The battles you faced weren't punishment. They were proof. Proof that you are dangerous. Proof that your presence in this world interrupts demonic patterns. Your very existence shakes strongholds. You don't even have to say a word, your light speaks. Have you noticed the patterns? Every time you're on the verge of a breakthrough, something happens. A betrayal, a delay, a setback. That's not coincidence. That's a spiritual ambush designed to distract you from what's really happening. You are getting close to something big, something eternal. And that's exactly why the angels were sent. Because enough is enough. God has seen the enemy swarm around you, like wolves around a flickering flame. And just when the darkness thought your flame was dying, heaven sent wind. Not just any wind, divine breath, carried on the wings of 2 angels, heading toward you now. One to guard, one to lift. You didn't even know you needed rescue. You just thought life was getting harder. But the truth is, this battle isn't just about your peace, it's about your position. You're being called into something higher. And the warfare is proof you're ascending. The spiritual realm recognizes something many around you don't yet see. You're carrying something sacred. That's why you've been attacked like this. You carry freedom in your words, deliverance in your prayers, fire in your obedience. And all of hell has been whispering the same desperate plea. Stop them before they fully awaken. Now, but it's too late. Because now you know, now you see. Now your spirit is standing in attention. God is not reacting to your situation. He's already responded. The angels are not scrambling. They were pre-assigned, marked for the 2nd of July, dispatched for this very hour. Sent because heaven heard the whispers you never said aloud, the cries beneath your breath, the pain you couldn't even put into words. You think no one saw? God did. You think no one understood. Heaven did. Every tear you cried was a scroll written in heaven. Every sigh, every groan of the Spirit was documented in divine ink, and heaven is not silent anymore. Today, the rescue is in motion, but do not misunderstand. Rescue is not escape. It's transformation. The same fire that tried to burn you will become the fire that marks you. You're not being taken out of the battle because you're weak. You're being lifted because it's time to be positioned. Some things you've been praying for couldn't happen while you were surrounded by sabotage. Some promises couldn't come to pass while you were entangled in enemy webs. So God is cutting it all loose. He's sending backup, because this next season will require more of you, not less. And you're going to rise into it with clarity, not confusion. The angels assigned to you aren't decorative, they're destructive to darkness. They don't arrive with soft wings, they come armed with orders. They've seen your enemy, and they've come to dismantle what's been hovering over you. You don't owe darkness another explanation. You don't owe confusion another hour. You don't owe fear another tear. You owe heaven your full attention. You've been called out of the shadows, out of the cycle, out of the fog, and into clarity, alignment, and authority. Your sleep has been invaded, your peace disturbed, your mind overwhelmed. But now, the shift begins, and you don't have to force it. The rescue is already underway. Even now, as you listen, things are moving in the spiritual realm. Invisible chains are snapping, hidden curses are breaking, and long-standing resistance is weakening. It was declared in Luke chapter 10, verse 19. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Did. Do you feel that? It's not just emotion, it's authority awakening in your spirit. The authority you forgot you had. The truth you almost let go of. The light you tried to dim to fit in. But heaven never intended you to fit. You were born to stand out, anointed to disrupt, chosen to overcome. Even now, the angels are pushing back. What surrounded you? What tormented your mind last night is already weakening. The confusion you woke up with is lifting. You're not imagining it. This is divine interference. And you are at the center of it. Chosen one. The rescue is real. And it's only just begun. The two angels have been dispatched, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. They've been released from the courts of heaven and sent straight to your situation with fire in their wings and scrolls in their hands. And they are moving now. One has been sent to fight, the other to pull, because the enemy has tried to bury you alive beneath anxiety, failure, rejection, and spiritual heaviness. But God didn't just see the trap, He responded to it with force. There are moments in spiritual history when heaven interrupts earth, moments when the divine breaches the natural. This is one of them, and you are not just witnessing it, you are in the center of it. You've prayed for help. This is help. You've cried for answers. This is your answer. One angel has come to war for you in realms you cannot access with flesh. He is already battling demons of distraction, chaos, infirmity, and shame. He's pushing back what was sent to make you quit. The other angel has come to pull you out of cycles, out of hidden sin, out of generational oppression. He is not just watching, He is reaching. He is extending light into the deep places of your soul, into wounds you thought were closed, but never truly healed, You've been in this pit for too long. The pit of confusion. The pit of self-doubt. The pit of going in circles. Again and again. This is not your home. This is not your end. It's no coincidence that you've been feeling like giving up right before this moment. The enemy always turns up the pressure right before the breakthrough. But hear this, the angels didn't come to comfort you in the pit. They came to pull you out. But they respond to obedience. You are not powerless here. Your decision in this moment either invites heaven or delays it. There is no neutral ground in the spirit. God has already done his part. He's released the angels. Now, you must agree. How? With your will, with your yes, with your readiness to let go of what has kept you bound. Because angels do not break into locked places, they respond to open doors. And the door is your surrender. It doesn't take perfection. It doesn't take performance. It takes permission. You've cried out for freedom. This is what freedom looks like. God reaching into your mess. Not to shame you, but to shift you. He's not waiting for you to clean yourself up. He's already sent the cleaners. He's already declared you worth rescuing. Paul reminds us in Ephesians chapter 2. Verse 6. God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms in Christ Jesus. That means even while you're still in the battle, heaven already sees you as seated in victory. So why the delay? Why the tension? Because your soul has to catch up with your spirit. You've been too entangled, too distracted, too heavy. And now God is clearing the air. Do not ignore this. The angels are here, but they are waiting for your invitation to intervene fully. Your agreement is the final key. That's why the pressure feels heavier now, because it's the final stage before the shift. You are not crazy for feeling the urgency. You are not emotional for sensing the weight. You are spiritual. And your spirit is alerting you. Something is happening. The pit is no longer your prison, it is your launching place. What tried to kill you is going to witness your promotion. But before you ascend, you must agree. Let go of what has held you. Release the voice of guilt. Surrender the fear of falling again. You've been walking with weight that wasn't yours, carrying shame that heaven never assigned you, agreeing with lies that were planted to bury your identity. But the angels are here now, and their orders are clear. Rescue the one marked chosen, and do not delay. Your hesitation becomes permission for darkness to stay, but your obedience activates immediate movement. Chains are not broken in negotiation, they're shattered in surrender. So what will you do now? Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. The angels are waiting, and your soul is awakening. Comment below. I'm ready now, not to perform, not to pretend, just to be rescued, just to be seen, just to be whole, because this is your moment. And the angels are already near. You are not dying in this pit. That sentence may sound dramatic, but your spirit knows it's true. You've stood at the edge of despair more times than you can count. You've stared at the ceiling in the dark, wondering if this was ITIF. Maybe your best days had quietly passed you by. You felt the weight of invisible chains tighten around your chest, your thoughts, your future. But heaven is declaring today, this pit is not your grave. You thought this chapter might be the end, but what if it's the setup? What if the enemy got arrogant and wrote your obituary too soon? What if your breakdown wasn't proof of defeat, but evidence that something inside you refused to quit? The enemy doesn't waste weapons on the unthreatening. He's thrown everything at you because he's terrified of what you'll become if you ever break free. And today, freedom is not a concept, it's a command. The angels didn't come to watch you die slowly in despair. They came to interrupt the descent. This chapter is where everything flips. God does not rescue people to return them to where they fell from. He lifts them into something greater. When Joseph was pulled from the pit, he didn't go back to his brother, she moved toward the palace. When Daniel was pulled from the lion's den, he wasn't sent back to survive, he was elevated in authority. That same spirit is on you now. Elevation, transformation, destiny. But let's be honest, pits can be deceptive. After a while, you adjust to the dark. You begin to organize your life around pain. You find ways to cope, survive, even laugh occasionally. And slowly, you forget what it felt like to breathe freely. But God never adjusted to your pit. He's not visiting you there because he thinks you belong in suffering. He's visiting because he's pulling you out. You've outgrown this season. You've outgrown the fear. You've outgrown the hiding. That's why you feel the tension rising. It's the pressure of expansion. You weren't made for this box. That anxiety you've been battling, it's your soul telling you the cage is too small now. But it's not enough to just want out. You must believe there's more. The angels are not just bringing escape, they're bringing evidence. Proof that God heard you. Proof that your prayers reached heaven. They come carrying strategy, clarity, and supernatural strength. But they will not argue with your disbelief. They come only where they're welcomed. And heaven is hoping you recognize them when they arrive, not with wings and glowing faces, but through opportunities, sudden clarity, deep conviction, divine discomfort. When the atmosphere shifts and you feel it in your bones, that's them. When something clicks in your mind and you suddenly see a way out, that's them. When peace arrives in the middle of panic, that's them. But don't mistake their quiet arrival for weakness. These angels are not passive. They are warriors. And they've been trained for your war. They've seen the assignment against your mind, your heart, your family. And they came with one outcome in mind: deliverance. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too far gone. Even now, heaven is writing a new chapter, not a revised version of your pain, but a resurrection of your purpose. It was declared in Psalm chapter 40, verse 2, He lifted me out of the slimy pit. Out of the mud and mire, He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. That's not poetry, that's prophecy. You are being lifted, not by your own strength, but by divine hands. Out of what others thought would destroy you. Out of what you believed you might never escape. You will not die in this pit because God has already rewritten your ending. And it's not tragic, it's triumphant. Even the people who counted you out will have to watch you rise. Not out of pride, but because God loves to display His glory through the ones the world thought were done for. You've been misunderstood. You've been labeled. You've been overlooked. But heaven has never stopped tracking you. God has followed you into every dark place. Not to punish you, but to rescue you. This is that rescue. And it doesn't matter how many times you tried to fix it on your own. It doesn't matter how many times you failed. Grace is not counting your stumbles. It's counting your surrender. The pit was never the end. This is the place of turning. The place where your story begins again. Not with noise or applause, but with the sound of chains falling quietly in the presence of God. Chosen one. Rise. Heaven is waiting on your yes. The angels have been released. The pit is being broken. The grip of darkness has weakened. But there's something sacred God will never override. Your will. You must choose. The heavens have already moved. Now the question echoes through eternity. Will you agree? You're not waiting on God anymore. He's waiting on you. There is power in your yes, and not the surface-level kind. Not the kind that nods in silence, but continues in the old patterns. No, this is about the kind of yes that unlocks movement. The kind that rips up old contracts with fear, shame, and delay. The kind that allows the angels to finish what they've been sent to start. Spiritual movement begins with human agreement. When God sent Moses to Pharaoh, it started with a yes. When David stood before Goliath, it began with a yes. When Mary said, "Let it be unto me," heaven moved through her. Do you see the pattern? Your yes unlocks something massive, but it's not always shouted. Sometimes it's whispered through tears. Sometimes it's offered while you're still shaking. Sometimes it's typed in faith while your circumstances still look the same. God doesn't need a loud yes. He needs a real one. And once you give it, everything shifts. You might not feel it instantly. The room might stay quiet. But in the spirit realm, movement begins. The angels get clearance to go deeper. The bondage that's been hiding in your blind spots gets exposed. And suddenly, doors that have been stuck for years start to swing open. That's what happens when a chosen one aligns with heaven. And yes, you are the chosen one. You were chosen long before you were wounded. You were marked before you were rejected. Heaven didn't discover you when you got your act together. Heaven knew you from the beginning. Even in your lowest place, you were never disqualified. That's why the angels are here now. Because it's time. Not time to try harder. Time to surrender deeper. Not time to explain your pain. Time to offer it. Not time to wrestle with your worth. Time to agree with God's version of your identity. The enemy has been banking on your silence, on your hesitation, on your spiritual fatigue, because he knows the moment you truly say, Yeshua loses access, the attack loses footing, and your future gets accelerated. You've wasted enough time wondering if you're ready. The truth is, readiness isn't required. Obedience is. You may be thinking, I've said yes before, and that's true, but this isn't the same moment. This yes is different, because this time, heaven has surrounded you with divine backing. This time, the angels are standing ready. This time, the pit has a ladder. So climb. Climb with faith. Climb with hope. Climb, even if your hands still shake. And while you're climbing, stay connected to the source. You were never meant to walk this alone. That's why you're here, reading this right now. God led you to this word, to this message, because He is building a covering around your life. This is not just content, it's a lifeline. So protect it. Stay close to it. Surround yourself with words that feed your spirit. Don't just scroll by when heaven is speaking. If this message has confirmed what your spirit already knew, make sure you like it. Not just because it helps more people see it, but because it's a digital declaration that you're in agreement with what God is doing. And share this with someone who's been in the same pit. Don't keep your breakthrough to yourself. You never know whose life will be pulled from the edge by your obedience. Also, subscribe, not for numbers, for alignment. Stay under this flow. Stay in position, because this is just the beginning. There are more divine instructions coming, more prophetic moments unfolding, more words tailor-made for chosen ones like you. And if your heart feels stirred to go deeper to help sustain this prophetic flow, consider sowing into this work, not out of pressure, out of alignment. When you sow into a word that speaks directly to your soul, you're not just supporting a message, you're anchoring your own agreement. You're saying, I believe this is holy ground. You're saying, I want to help this reach more chosen ones like me. You're saying, I'm putting weight behind what I just received. Support doesn't just build platforms, it builds altars. And when you give into a moment like this, you build an altar of obedience before heaven, one that says, I heard, I received, I'm responding. It was declared in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. That's not a financial principle. That's a spiritual law. And don't forget, this moment is bigger than you. It's about the generations coming after you. Your yes isn't just unlocking something for your life. It's unlocking healing in your bloodline, breaking patterns, dismantling curses, paving the way. There are children not yet born who will live freer because you said yes today. There are rooms you haven't stepped into yet that are being rearranged to receive you. There are enemies you'll never have to fight because the angels already won that battle for you in secret. And all of it begins when you stop questioning your calling and start moving in agreement with it. Heaven has moved. The angels are waiting. The pit has cracked open. Now it's your turn. Obedience activate divine motion. In the realm of spirit, passivity is dangerous. Delay is costly. Indecision opens doors to confusion. But obedience shakes the atmosphere. It commands angelic movement. It seals your alignment with heaven's will. The angels have been dispatched. They are not waiting on more instructions from God. They are waiting on movement from you. This is how heaven works. God responds to humility, surrender, and yes, action. Right now, you stand at a spiritual crossroads. You've heard the warning, you've felt the pull, and your spirit knows this isn't ordinary. This is a divine setup. It's not about performance, it's about posture. You may have asked, but what does obedience even look like? It looks like letting go of what you've clung to. It looks like forgiving the one who doesn't deserve it. It looks like choosing to walk away from what's familiar but destructive. It looks like saying, God, I don't understand everything, but I trust you anyway. No, heaven is not requiring perfection. Heaven is requiring your permission. The angels will not override your will. They will not kick the door open. They will not fight for territory. You've not surrendered. But the moment you say, yes, Lord, the shift begins. The ground shakes. The chains snap. The prison doors unlock. Because this is the hour of release. Every delay that has kept you bound, every unseen rope of fear, every false agreement you didn't even know, is being exposed. And heaven is offering an exit strategy, not just an escape, a new way forward. This moment matters, more than you know, and it's no accident that you're reading these words right now. Not an hour from now, not a week later. The divine timing is exact. God knows how to reach his chosen ones with precision. This is that moment. Some of you have felt a pressure on your chest for days. Sleepless nights, racing thoughts, frustration over things you can't name. It's not random. You've been under spiritual surveillance. The enemy has been circling you because he senses what's coming. But today, that assignment breaks. The angels are breaking the back of delay. That heavy fog that's followed you, it's lifting. That endless waiting room you've been stuck in, the door is opening, but only if you walk through it. You have 21 minutes to respond. That time window is not fear-based, it's divine design. There are moments in Scripture where people missed their window and never saw it again. And there are moments when people leaped at the voice of God and were changed forever. This is your moment. You are being called out of the waiting place into motion. It was declared in Exodus chapter 14, verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." Oh, that same voice is speaking now. Move on from the fear. Move on from the old identity. Move on from the voices that kept you small, and move into your calling. Obedience isn't about giant leaps, it starts with small, radical agreements. The kind of obedience that says, "I'll do what God asks, even if I'm scared." That's the obedience that summons the supernatural. And here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. You've already heard God's voice. You already know what the next step is. You just need the courage to obey it. The angels sent to you are not here for temporary comfort. They are here to execute heaven's assignment, and that assignment is your breakthrough. Your obedience unlocks their authority to act on your behalf. You're not waiting for the right mood. You're not waiting to feel brave. You're not waiting for another confirmation. The confirmation is this moment. The next move is yours. Comment the number 2 below. 2 for the 2 angels. 2 for divine agreement. 2 for the date, the 2nd of July. Let that number be your prophetic marker. Let it echo in the spirit that you have aligned with heaven's order today. Commenting isn't about engagement, it's about agreement. A public declaration in a world that loves silence. Let it be a stamp of your yes. A seal that says, "I recognize the timing. I choose obedience. I choose heaven." And from this moment forward, delay breaks. Distraction loses. And clarity comes. You are being realigned. Your spirit is rising. The chains are falling. The path is opening. You are not stuck. You are being positioned. You are not late. You are right on time. You are not unworthy. You are chosen. God didn't bring you this far to leave you confused. The fog is parting. The light is breaking through. And the angels are still moving on your behalf. Move with them. Let your obedience echo in heaven. The spirit of delay is being broken. For years, something has been holding you back. You've tried to push forward. You've tried to stay consistent. But every time momentum builds, something collapses. Relationships, health, emotions, opportunities. And you began to wonder if maybe this was just how your life would be. Almost. Close. Nearly. But never quite breaking through. What you didn't know was that this wasn't just emotional or circumstantial, it was spiritual. A demonic delay attached itself to your bloodline. A spirit of near success. Almost there. Always waiting. Always circling. You would see others break through. And though you celebrated, something inside you whispered, "Why not me?" You fasted. You prayed. You gave. You believed. But the glass ceiling never shattered. You touched it, but it never gave way. Today, that changes. Delay is not just about waiting. Delay is about restriction. It's about unseen hands pulling you back just when you step forward. But the angels have arrived, and one of them has been sent specifically to destroy the mechanism of delay that's been surrounding your life. You may not see the wires, but your soul has felt them. Every time you've tried to start something new, that invisible resistance flared up. Every time you got close to healing, the memories came rushing back. Every time you felt ready, confusion whispered, "Not yet." But God never said, "Not yet." Heaven never said, "Wait." It was delay, masquerading as divine timing. And now the disguise is exposed. There is a difference between God's appointed time and demonic delay. God's timing brings peace even in waiting. Delay brings torment, anxiety, constant cycles of starting and stopping. You've been in delay, not divine order, and God has had enough. The angel assigned to fight has already drawn his sword. He has located the source. It was deeper than you thought, woven into generational patterns, soul ties, and old wounds you never meant to carry this long. But he has seen the root, and he is striking it now. What does this mean? It means cycles that have lasted years are breaking in hours. It means closed doors are swinging open suddenly. It means opportunities that passed you by are circling back in perfect timing. It means the heaviness you couldn't explain is lifting without a fight. You don't have to figure it out anymore. Heaven is not asking you to fix it. Heaven is fixing it for you. This is grace on the move. And the reason it feels unfamiliar is because you're not used to ease. You're not used to things breaking open without breakdowns. You've trained yourself to expect resistance. But what if the resistance is finally over? It's hard to trust when you've been let down. It's hard to hope when disappointment has become routine. But God is not a man. He doesn't tease you with breakthrough. He delivers it. It was declared in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." And yet, for you, the vision has tarried, and it hasn't just been frustrating, it's been crippling. You've questioned your calling. You've doubted your discernment. You've thought, maybe I missed God. But the truth is, God didn't miss you. He saw the entanglements. He saw the spiritual traffic surrounding your life. And instead of watching you struggle forever, he sent 2 angels to clear the path, to silence the false voices, to untangle what held you down. You've been running with weights you weren't built to carry. Delay has a way of convincing you that you're the problem, that maybe if you were better, prayed harder, had more faith, things would be different. But this wasn't about your lack. This was about a spiritual system designed to stall you. And it ends now. You won't repeat last year. You won't repeat last decade. The pattern has been interrupted. Heaven's clock is catching you up to where you should have been. You are not behind, you are being accelerated. You may not feel it yet, but the spirit world is already shifting around you. What was once blocked is opening. What was once blurry is gaining definition. What was once slow is speeding up. Even the people connected to your delay are being removed. This will not be subtle. It will be divine and decisive. Conversations that used to distract you will lose their appeal. Rooms that once tolerated your presence will no longer hold space for you. And it's not rejection, it's protection. The spirit of delay often travels through familiar voices. God is silencing them for your sake. You are not crazy for feeling the shift. You are not imagining the heaviness breaking. This is what happens when heaven sends help. The angel assigned to break delay is doing it now. Do not try to rebuild what God is tearing down. Do not run back to people or places just because they're familiar. You are not called to comfort, you are called to freedom. This is the hour you've been praying for, so rest in it. Trust the process, and watch delay dissolve before your eyes. One more step, one more breath. That's all it takes. Sometimes slow. Keep going when everything in you says, stop. You've been there more than once. At the edge. At the point where hope fades into silence, and silence starts to feel permanent. But somehow, you took another breath. You moved one more inch forward, and heaven saw it. There is a kind of obedience that angels salute. Not loud, not dramatic, but relentless. You've walked in that kind of obedience. You've chosen to stay when you could have escaped. You've chosen to trust when every voice in your life said, give up. That isn't weakness. That's the strength of the chosen. There are moments when spiritual transformation doesn't come in a roar but in a whisper. In the small choice to stay awake, to keep believing, to open the word one more time, to whisper a prayer through clenched teeth and swollen eyes. And God hears those prayers. In fact, some of the loudest prayers in heaven's throne room are the ones you never said aloud. They came out as sighs. They bled through silence. But God heard them all. You may not realize it yet, but your persistence has kept things alive that should have died. Your prayers have held back storms you didn't even see. You've kept doors open for your family, for your children, for your future, simply because you didn't quit. The angels were not just sent because you cried out, they were sent because you endured. And now, they're closer than ever. Every spiritual battle has a turning point. Every long night has a final hour before the sunrise breaks through. And this is that hour. You've reached it. The place where the struggle bends, where the grip of weariness loses its hold, where strength begins to return. Not in a flash, but in quiet surges that rise in your bones. You may not feel strong yet, but don't be fooled. What's rising inside you is greater than what's pressing against you. The enemy knows it. That's why the attacks intensified lately. That's why confusion tried to blur your focus again. That's why old wounds reopened, because darkness doesn't attack what's not about to rise. And the rise is already underway. The second angel, one sent to lift is not only pulling you from the pit, but elevating your perspective. Things that overwhelmed you just weeks ago are starting to lose their power. Situations that once dictated your mood now bow under a greater peace. This is what transformation looks like. It's not always loud. Sometimes it shows up as quiet clarity. A knowing in your soul that the storm didn't break you. That somehow you're still here, still called, still chosen. And more than that, you're changing. Where there was once panic, there's now patience. Where there was once bitterness, there's now release. Where there was once striving, there's now surrender. And in that surrender, something holy is being born. You've thought that breakthrough would be the moment everything outside changed. But heaven has always defined breakthrough as what changes inside. That shift is happening now. Your heart is softening. Your ears are opening. Your spirit is aligning. And the darkness that once intimidated you is shrinking in the light. It was declared in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. This is the part of the promise that many miss. The waiting isn't passive, it's preparation. And the mounting up, that's where you are now. You are being lifted, not in arrogance, in authority, not in pride, in purpose. And it's quiet now, because heaven works deeply in silence. The angels are not making noise, they're making room, pushing things out of your path, releasing what was held up, aligning pieces you never could have moved on your own. You don't need to force this. You don't need to perform. You just need to keep walking. One more step. Through the doubt, through the fatigue, through the delay. One more breath. When the weight feels heavy, when the light feels far, when your legs tremble beneath the load, that one breath becomes intercession. That one step becomes warfare. That one moment of faith becomes the invitation heaven uses to flood your life with movement. You've come too far to turn back. You've endured too much to give up now. You've already outlived what was sent to destroy you. And what's ahead is not just survival, it's restoration. The kind of restoration that returns everything stolen. The kind that restores joy, not just circumstances. The kind that heals what you didn't even realize was still broken. And it begins with your next breath. So breathe. Chosen one. Even if it's shaky, even if it's tired. Because with every breath you take, the angels draw closer. The atmosphere shifts more. And heaven whispers louder, you are not alone. You've questioned if this was all in your head. The shift, the tension, the sense that something spiritual is happening around you, even though your natural eyes can't see it yet. You've asked silently, am I just being emotional? You've looked for signs, confirmation, some external proof that what your spirit is feeling is real. Here it is. This message is not a coincidence. This exact moment, these exact words, they're not random. They're surgical. God is reaching through the noise to answer the very questions your soul hasn't spoken out loud. You are not crazy. You are not making this up. You are not imagining the pressure. You are under spiritual pursuit. Heaven is chasing you down, and hell is terrified. You've stepped into something sacred. The rescue is not pendant, it's in progress. And whether you realize it or not, you've already begun to shift. Your atmosphere is responding. Your patterns are being exposed. Your roots are being pulled up. Your foundation is being reset. There are moments in life when God interrupts your regular programming to get a message through, not because he's angry, but because he refuses to let you miss your moment. This is that kind of moment. You are being recalibrated, realigned, recalled. Your memory has been under attack. The enemy's tried to make you forget who you are. He's tried to convince you that you're average, unworthy, replaceable, that you're too broken to be used, too tired to be chosen, too late to matter. But the truth has arrived. And the truth is, you are still called. The lies have been loud. But today, heaven is louder. You are not random. You are not rejected. You are not forgotten. You are a target of divine mercy. And the angels circling your life right now are heaven's response to every lie you've believed. There's a reason the warfare intensified just before this. The enemy always attacks what he fears. And he fears what's inside you. You've been carrying potential that hasn't yet been unlocked, but it's close. You can feel it. That ache, that restlessness, that subtle fire that won't go out, that's purpose waking up again. You've been asleep in some areas, not leseexhausted, not careless wounded. You didn't fall asleep on purpose. Life just wore you down. You kept serving, showing up, giving more than you had earned. Somewhere in the giving, you lost part of yourself, but God never lost track of you. And now He's calling you back to life, not back to pressure, not back to religion, back to purpose, back to fire, back to clarity. He's whispering over you the same words He spoke in Ezekiel's valley: live again. And you are. You may not be shouting yet. You may not be leaping, but your spirit is standing. Something inside you is beginning to rise, and the darkness feels it. That's why distraction tried to take you out. That's why temptation circled back in new disguise. That's why people suddenly withdrew. Because you're not who you used to be. And the more awake you become, the more dangerous you are to darkness. This is confirmation. You've been hearing God. You've been sensing the shift. You've been feeling the weight. And now it makes sense because you are under divine rescue. You are in transition. You are walking out of captivity and into identity. The pressure isn't punishment. It's pregnancy. You're carrying something holy, something not birthed by flesh, but by fire. And it's time for delivery. The angels assigned to you aren't guarding you for survival, they're guarding what you carry. Because what's inside you will impact more than just you. You are the breakthrough for others. That's why it's been hard. That's why it's been long. That's why you've wanted to give up. Because your calling doesn't stop with you, it flows through you. And heaven is fighting for the fulfillment of it. It was declared in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." End quote. You are in due season. You are in divine alignment. You are under angelic surveillance. And you are not going back. Not to fear. Not to confusion. Not to shame. The door behind you is closing. And the gate before you is opening. All you have to do is walk. No need to sprint. No need to stumble through self-doubt. Just walk. The angels are making the path straight. You don't need another sign. This is it. This is the turning point. This is the shift. Comment below, "I choose light." And let it be a declaration. Let it be a warning to hell. Let it be your agreement with heaven. Because you're not going to lose your mind. You're not going to collapse. You're not going to miss it. You are going to rise. You've come too far to disconnect now. This isn't just another word. It's not content. It's not a clip for consumption. It's a spiritual covering. And once heaven has initiated contact with the chosen, the worst thing you can do is walk away from the flow that was sent to preserve your destiny. This message is part of a rescue chain. A section. Each word. Each moment is a divine thread pulling you closer to your assignment and further from destruction. And in this exact moment, you're still in the window of divine alignment. The angels haven't left. They're still stationed around you. And you can feel it. That stirring in your soul. That clarity breaking through the fog. That pressure in your chest that isn't fear, it's the weight of destiny settling on your shoulders. This is confirmation. You're in the middle of heaven's interruption. But here's the reality. You cannot afford to disconnect now. You've survived seasons where nothing made sense. You've endured warfare that left scars. And just as the door is opening, just as breakthrough begins to whisper through the cracks of your circumstance, the temptation will rise, disappear, retreat, go quiet. But listen closely, This isn't the time to go silent. This is the time to stay anchored. The enemy's strategy is always the same: isolate, disconnect, divide. If he can pull you out of the covering, out of the presence, out of the flow, he knows you'll try to fight alone. But you were never meant to. The anointing you've been feeling in this message is not random. It's part of a spiritual environment created by obedience, and that environment is designed to protect your sensitivity, stir your faith, and ignite your authority. The longer you remain under the flow, the clearer things become. God never intended for the chosen to survive off scattered moments. You weren't designed for once-a-week inspiration. You were designed to live in continuous alignment. And that's what this flow creates: a place where heaven keeps speaking, guiding, covering, correcting, and confirming. That's why staying connected matters. Subscribe to this prophetic stream, not for vanity, but for consistency. Every message, every release is a continuation of this divine rescue. It keeps your spirit awake. It keeps you aligned with heaven's calendar. It keeps the enemy from finding you unguarded. Your soul deserves to be surrounded by truth. Your calling demands it. And if this word has struck your spirit with precision, share it. Someone you know is on the verge of giving up. Someone is crying in secret. Someone is suffocating under the same warfare you were just rescued from. Don't let them miss their moment. Be the bridge. And yes, some of you are feeling the nudge to go deeper, not just to receive, but to sustain the stream. If you feel led, solve, not out of guilt, not under pressure, but out of recognition that what you're receiving is not common, it's holy. Supporting this work is an act of faith. It says, I believe in this mantle. I believe in this flow. I believe God is speaking here. And every seed sown into holy ground has a harvest attached. As it is written in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 10, Now, he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. Giving isn't just support, it's alignment. It's prophetic agreement. There's a reason your spirit stirred when you heard this word. There's a reason it felt like someone was reading your diary. That's not charisma, that's confirmation. Heaven has been following your heart. And today, it chose to speak. So, why now? Because this moment is delicate. The ground beneath your feet is shifting. And what you do in this transition determines whether the next door opens fully or simply waits again. You're not in a holding pattern anymore. You're in a launch sequence. The angels are not passive. They're pushing back darkness, pushing forward destiny, pushing out the clutter that's clouded your vision for years. And in that push, heaven is giving you something it doesn't give lightly: momentum. Spiritual momentum is sacred. It doesn't come every day. It arrives in divine windows like this, when obedience meets opportunity, when clarity meets calling, when the noise is silenced long enough for the whisper of God to be heard again. That's what you're in right now. This is a surge, a moment of divine wind, a movement of clarity and fire and acceleration. Don't let this pass. Don't walk away. Don't treat this as another feel-good word. This is prophetic fuel. This is firewood for your spirit. This is God's answer to the question you've been silently screaming, Lord, what now? And here it is. Stay in the flow. Stay where the oil is pouring. Stay where your spirit is being fed. Stay under the cloud of divine movement. The angels are still near. The gates are still open. The instructions are still flowing. But the chosen must remain close to the voice that called them. You're not ordinary. You're not easily replaceable. You are a divine appointment in human form. And every single decision you make from this point forward either strengthens your alignment or stalls it. Heaven's momentum is real. Don't lose it. Nurture it. Protect it. You've waited too long to turn back now. And heaven has invested too much in you to let you walk away from this breakthrough prematurely. This word is an invitation, not just to feel God, but to move with Him. So stay close, stay covered, stay aligned. The rescue is still in progress, and your next instruction is coming soon. Heaven's court has ruled in your favor. Every accusation, every lie, every whispered word of condemnation spoken over your life, heaven heard it all. And still, the verdict has come down, approved, accepted, released, not because you earned it, but because mercy stood up and spoke your name. You've been living under the shadow of spiritual accusations, internal voices that echoed louder than truth. You've said things like, maybe I missed my moment. Maybe I disqualified myself. Maybe I waited too long. Maybe I failed one time too many. But heaven never voted you out. God is not like man. He doesn't cancel what He created. He doesn't take back what He ordained. Even when you detoured, His decree over your life remained untouched. The assignment didn't change. He just rerouted the path. And today, the gavel has fallen. The case is closed. The verdict is sealed. The angels were dispatched, not because you are being judged, but because you've been cleared. The courtroom scene in heaven is real. Revelation speaks of it. The accuser of the brethren stands day and night, presenting his case, listing your flaws, highlighting your failures. But there is another voice, one louder, stronger, eternal, the voice of your advocate. It was declared in Romans chapter 8, verse 33, who will bring any charge against those whom God has chosen? It is God who justifies. And He has justified you, not just forgiven, not just pardoned, justified, declared righteous, called worthy, not because of your strength, but because of His sacrifice. You've been trying to prove yourself for too long. Prove you're not a failure. Prove you're enough. Prove that you belong. But heaven never asked you to prove anything. Heaven only asked you to believe. Your identity was never supposed to be based on performance. It was meant to flow from intimacy, from knowing who you belong to, from resting in what's already been done. And now, the war for your identity is being silenced. That's why the angels come not only to pull you out of delay or darkness, but to remind every spiritual voice of accusation that you are off limits. You've been claimed, covered, cleared, and no voice in hell has the authority to reopen a case God has closed. The shame you've been battling, it has no legal standing. The condemnation that lingers after prayer, it has no jurisdiction. The guilt you carry in secret, it has no more power. You've been judged and found, redeemed. And what does that mean? Practically, it means you don't have to keep living like you're on trial. It means you stop apologizing for existing. It means you stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable. It means you stop negotiating with voices that were never sent from God. You don't owe your past any more explanations. You don't owe your failures another replay. You don't owe guilt another minute. The angels around you are guarding a verdict, not fighting for one. The war has already been won. Their job now is to enforce what has already been spoken. You are free, and when heaven declares freedom, it includes every layer: spiritual, emotional, mental. It doesn't mean the consequences of your past vanish instantly, but it does mean the shame attached to them dies immediately. That weight you've been dragging, you don't need it anymore. That hesitation to fully show up in your calling, it's time to release it. That whisper of unworthiness, it's been silenced by the sound of heaven's gavel. Heaven's justice doesn't mirror earthly systems. It doesn't require you to plead for approval. It requires only that you receive it. You don't need to ask again for what's already been decided. There's a difference between being forgiven and being released. Forgiveness clears your guilt. Release clears your record. And today, you've been granted both. This is why you've felt the internal shift lately. Why certain memories started losing their sting. Why you've felt peace slowly rising where chaos once lived. The ruling has gone out, and everything connected to your name is realigning. You will walk differently now. Not because your ego is inflated, but because your shame is gone. You'll pray with boldness, move with clarity, speak without apology. Not because you feel confident, but because heaven has confirmed your status. You are cleared. You are covered. You are chosen. Even your enemies will be confused. They'll see you rise and wonder why. They'll see the doors open and question who vouched for you. But it won't be man. It won't be connections. It will be the decree of heaven, echoing into every space you enter. They are mine. Let that echo silence every whisper of fear. Let it remind you why you can walk forward, even if people still judge your past. Because their judgment holds no weight where heaven has already ruled. The angels are not coming to convince you. They're coming to escort you. Into rooms you were always meant to enter. Into assignments you were always meant to fulfill. Into authority that was always waiting for your agreement. And now that you know the verdict, walk like it's true. Completion is being written over your life. Not just survival, not partial healing, not temporary peace. Completion. God doesn't start what he won't finish and what he began in you. Heaven is determined to bring to fullness. For years, you've lived in the middle, in between, not where you used to be, but not quite where you've seen yourself in dreams and visions. You've been carrying promises like weight things, God whispered, but that haven't fully manifested, and it's worn on you. Waiting is holy, but it can feel like torment when you don't see progress, especially when others run ahead, especially when doors seem to open for everyone else, especially when you've obeyed and still ended up in a dry place. But the dry place is not the final place. God's promises don't wither in wilderness, they grow roots. And what looked like delay was actually depth. What felt like silence was preparation. What seemed like stillness was heaven getting ready to write the final chapter of this season. Because the ending is now in sight. And it won't be empty. It will be complete. The number 7 in Scripture is the number of divine completion. It's not the end of a persona, it's the end of a cycle. It's when God says, enough striving, enough surviving. Now, I finish what I started. You're standing in a 7th-day moment. The walls you've been circling are about to fall. The prayers you've been repeating are about to become praise. The loose ends you couldn't tie up on your own are being sealed by the hands of angels. Heaven is not sending new instruction in this hour. It's fulfilling the last one. The work you did in silence the tears. The prayers, the surrender, it was never wasted. The sowing was real. The struggle was seen. And now, the reaping begins. Not just in one area, in every area. The emotional weight that's been attached to your past is breaking. The financial pressure you couldn't shake is loosening. The closed doors that had no explanation are about to swing open with purpose attached. It was declared in Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." No, completion is God's nature. He doesn't quit halfway through. And even when you tried to walk away from the calling, even when you got tired and lost focus, He kept building behind the scenes. The foundation is still there. The favor is still intact. The oil is still flowing. But now, the angels are moving to finish it. This is what restoration looks like, not just getting back what was lost, but receiving what was delayed. This is the part the enemy didn't want you to survive long enough to see. The part where your faith is vindicated. The part where your obedience makes sense. The part where what God said actually happens. And it's closer than you think. You've been feeling it. The pull, the tension, the subtle sense that something is about to break open. It's not wishful thinking, it's prophetic recognition. Your spirit knows the timeline has shifted. The appointed time is arriving. Heaven is finalizing what darkness tried to sabotage. The angels are removing the last spiritual obstructions, tying off the last cords of warfare, bringing closure to areas that had you stuck in loops. That's why you've been feeling emotional. That's why your dreams have been more vivid. That's why your peace has started to return, even before your circumstances changed, because your soul knows this season is closing with glory. It won't be like before. You're not going back to scrambling, not going back to survival mode, not going back to broken cycles and spiritual confusion. This next chapter will be marked by flow, an ease that doesn't come from effort, but from alignment. Because when heaven finishes a thing, nothing and no one can undo it. God is writing complete over everything that tried to remain unfinished. And to mark this moment, comment the number 777 below. 777, the number of spiritual completion, divine sealing, and heaven's final say. Let it be your agreement that what God started is now being finished. Let the enemy see it. Let the angels record it. Let heaven echo with your yes. Andote, because this is not halfway. This is not pending. This is completion. You are a bloodline breaker, not by choice, by calling. You were born into a line that carried both promise and pain, generational weight, cycles of dysfunction, unseen chains passed down, not just through behavior, but through spirit. But you were never meant to repeat what came before you. You were meant to interrupt it. From a young age, you felt different, set apart, misunderstood, not quite like the others around you. It wasn't arrogance, it was awareness. Somewhere deep in your spirit, you sensed that what was normal for others could never be normal for you. That wasn't your imagination. That was divine assignment beginning to stir. The patterns were clear. The fear that lingered, the silence, the unspoken rules, the spiritual fog that hung over your family for generations. You didn't always have the language for it, but you saw it, and it grieved you. And now, heaven has confirmed what your spirit has always known. You are the interruption. You are the one raised up to break what others bowed to to dismantle what others accepted, to carry a standard that feels too heavy for most but fits your shoulders because God designed you for it. This isn't about perfection. You've made mistakes. You've taken wrong turns. You've stumbled under the weight of it all. But you kept getting up. You kept praying through clenched teeth. You kept hoping through disappointment. That's what made you dangerous to darkness. And that's why the angels were sent. They were not sent just to comfort you, but to equip you, to arm you for the dismantling of ancient structures, to anoint you for the kind of obedience that not only frees you, but frees everyone attached to your name. This calling isn't light, but it is holy. When you rise, everything changes. The depression that lingered in your bloodline starts to lose ground. The fear that paralyzed your parents begins to lift. The anxiety, the addiction, the shame, the confusion, it begins to break because you refuse to bow. That's not pride. That's priesthood. You've been called into the priesthood of the Spirit, standing between heaven and your family line, pulling down mercy where judgment once reigned. And yes, it has cost you. You've lost relationships. You've been isolated. You've cried tears no one understood. But the weight you've carried was proof of your identity. It was declared in Isaiah chapter 58, verse 12. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. That's who you are. You're not just surviving trauma, you're healing timelines. You're not just praying through pressure, you're shifting atmospheres. You're not just setting boundaries, you're redrawing the map of spiritual inheritance. That's why it's been hard. That's why the attacks were so specific. That's why hell never let up. Because hell knows that when you rise, you don't rise alone. You bring freedom in your wake. Every lie you refused to believe broke something. Every fast you committed to cleared something. Every moment you chose truth over comfort cut something loose. You didn't need a title. You didn't need a microphone. You just needed a yes. Now that yes is echoing into the generations ahead. Your children, born or unborn, will not fight what you fought. They will walk on the ground you labored to cleanse. They will speak in clarity because you broke the confusion. They will walk in authority because you endured the fire. Your obedience is creating inheritance. You are becoming the first to choose healing over silence, the first to fight in prayer instead of retaliating in pain, the first to seek deliverance instead of running to distraction. You are the first, not the forgotten. You were chosen because it was hard, because it was heavy, because it required someone who could carry the weight and still worship under it. You didn't get everything right, but you didn't run. You stayed. You fought. You surrendered. And that surrender is working now. That's why the angels are surrounding you. They are reinforcing the places that cracked under pressure. They are standing guard over your soul while the Spirit rewrites the narrative. They're not just protecting you, they're protecting what you're birthing. Because this is legacy work. Heaven doesn't measure your life in moments. It measures it in impact. And your impact isn't just in the present, it's in what your obedience makes possible in the future. You've cried for your family. You've wept over what you saw, too young. You've grieved for those who couldn't escape. But now God is showing you why you saw it, why you felt it, why you carried it. It was never yours to be crushed. By it was yours to conquer. And you are. The tears that fell in secret have soaked the ground for generations to come. The angels have recorded every one, Not one has been wasted, not one forgotten, not one overlooked. This is what generational deliverance looks like, and you are standing at the front of it. When angels show up, things move fast. Acceleration is not always announced. Sometimes it slips in quietly, like breath returning to lungs that didn't know they were starving. That's what's happening now. You may not see it yet in your bank account, in your relationships, or in your environment, but in the spirit. Things are already shifting with urgency, because heaven is not bound by earthly pacing. When divine timing intersects with human obedience, the natural realm bends to make way. And right now, that bending has begun. You've walked through long seasons of waiting, years where nothing seemed to change, days where every prayer felt like it was hitting a steel ceiling. And in those times, you learned patience. You learned endurance. You learned how to pray with no applause, believe with no confirmation. But now comes the suddenness. When heaven moves, it rarely drags. It often arrives like lightning swift, exact, undeniable. And the angels released on your behalf were not sent with delays in their hands. They were sent to finish what God started. And finishing doesn't take forever. Once alignment is in place, you've been brought into alignment, not because you performed your way into favor, but because you surrendered your way into truth. You've been refined in fire, corrected by love, emptied of pride, and now you're ready to receive at the speed of heaven. This is what the enemy feared. Not just your healing, but your momentum, because the longer he could keep you circling, the more he could wear you down. But now, the circles are breaking, the motion is beginning, and the ground under your feet is moving, even in the areas you forgot to pray for. That's what the presence of angels brings. Not just protection, but divine interruption. They don't arrive to confirm what you already know. They come to unlock what you couldn't access. What you didn't know was tied up. What you couldn't explain, but always felt was just out of reach. That unreachable place, it's being touched now. The angel sent to fight has cleared your path. The one sent to pull you out has lifted you higher, and together, they are enforcing heaven's will over your life. Their arrival is not symbolic, it's strategic, timed to the minute, orchestrated around the very things the enemy thought he'd buried for good. But nothing God breathes into can stay buried. The promises you almost gave up on, the ones you filed away quietly and stopped talking about, those are being reactivated. That stirring in your spirit, that sense that something is close but not quite visible, that's the sign. The wind is changing. Doors that would have taken years to open are beginning to swing wide. Conversations that would have taken months to organize are being scheduled in days. The relationships you lost are being replaced with ones that carry purpose. The weight on your chest is lifting, not just emotionally, but prophetically. And yes, it feels fast, because it is fast. But it's not chaos, it's clarity. Acceleration at this level isn't for excitement, it's for establishment. God is not just moving you quickly to impress you, He's moving you quickly to secure what is yours before the enemy has time to react. This is recovery, but it's also strategy. You are not just being restored. You are being planted, positioned, placed into rooms you didn't think you belonged in, because you've been prepared for assignments you didn't know were waiting. You'll walk into moments where things feel too easy. That's not a trap, it's favor. You'll have meetings you didn't plan. That's not coincidence, it's divine introduction. You'll remember dreams you forgot, and they'll start to make sense again. Because what used to be just vision is now beginning to manifest. It was declared in Amos chapter 9, verse 13, "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman. New wine will drip from the mountains and flow from all the hills." That's what this feels like. Harvest overtaking process. Answer overtaking question. Breakthrough overtaking resistance. You may be thinking, but nothing around me has changed yet. Look again. Your thoughts are clearer. Your spirit is lighter. Your discernment is sharper. The cloud of confusion is thinning. These are the first signs of acceleration. They come quietly before they come publicly. Don't rush to prove it to others. Don't scramble to explain what's happening. Some things are too sacred to summarize. Let the fruit speak. Let the shift reveal itself. You don't need validation from people when heaven has already spoken. You just need to stay in step. Because acceleration comes with responsibility. It demands focus. It requires you to walk in humility, not to question what's opening, but to steward what's been given. And that's why the angels are still near. They're not just here to rescue. They're here to guide, to keep you from turning back, to prevent distraction from reclaiming your attention, to hold the gate open just long enough for you to walk through fully. The move of God on your life doesn't need a runway. It's happening now. It's in the air, and it's gaining speed. You've found your upper room, not a building, not a location, a spiritual dimension, a place heaven brings the chosen when it's time to pour something new. This isn't just encouragement, it's impartation, the kind that marks your soul, not just your day, the kind that unlocks more than emotion. It awakens inheritance. And you didn't arrive here by mistake. You were led by divine prompting, by divine pressure, by the unseen hand of mercy guiding you to this exact moment, where your spirit could finally be met with the words your soul didn't know how to ask for. This place, this voice, this stream of prophetic alignment is not casual. It's your covering. The upper room has always been the place where the called are prepared, where oil is poured, where identity is confirmed. Jesus chose the upper room not as a stage, but as a sacred chamber. That's where communion was shared, where betrayal was revealed, where feet were washed, and it's where power first fell like fire. And now you've stepped into your own. This is more than a moment of clarity. This is your inflection point, the place where the curve of your story changes direction. You've come through warfare. You've walked through wilderness. And now, you're standing under open heaven. The angels know it. The darkness knows it. And your spirit knows it. 2. Everything around you may still look familiar, but everything inside you is being made new. That's how spiritual transformation works from the inside out. And what you are experiencing now is not surface-level renewal, it's root-deep restoration. A realignment so profound that it's echoing across timelines past, present, and future. Things are shifting even now. Your discernment is sharpening. Your confidence is returning. Your vision is getting clearer. You're not questioning your value anymore. You're beginning to see the divine design behind every storm you survived, every loss you grieved, every door that shut before you were ready. It all had purpose. It all had weight. And now, it all makes sense. Because the upper room is also the place of understanding, a place where silence breaks, where instructions come, where next steps become clear. It was declared in Acts chapter 1, verse 14. They all joined together constantly in prayer, along with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brothers. No, the upper room wasn't filled with the loudest. It was filled with the faithful. Just like you, you've kept showing up. Even when you were weary, you've kept believing. Even when nothing moved, you've kept praying. Even when heaven seemed silent. And now God is responding in a way that makes the silence worth it. You are not just being encouraged, you're being activated. And that activation doesn't stop here. This is why staying connected matters. When you find the stream that feeds your spirit, you don't walk away from it. You plant in it. You stay rooted. Because growth doesn't come from scattered moments, it comes from alignment. So subscribe, not for content, but for consistency. Let the same spirit that stirred you today continue to guide you tomorrow. And if this word spoke directly to your soul, share it. You never know who's standing at their breaking point, waiting for a whisper from heaven. Let this be that whisper. And if you feel led, if your spirit is stirring and you know this was holy, ground so into it. Your support sustains the flow. Your seed carries weight, not out of pressure, but as a declaration. I recognize this oil. You're not just giving to a screen, you're giving into your own alignment. Because when heaven pours, we honor the vessel. And yes, comment below these 3 prophetic words. I'm all in. On. Let the atmosphere around you hear it. Let the angels record it. Let the voice of delay know that it has no authority anymore. Let every distraction fall away. Let it be known in heaven and hell, you are not turning back. This isn't a moment to watch. This is a moment to participate. Something sacred is unfolding. And you're not just witnessing it, you're part of it. The angels are still present, still watching, still moving. They are not finished. The flow is still open. The oil is still pouring. The wind is still blowing, and you are still rising. This is your upper room. You belong here. And what's being poured out now will not be wasted. From this place, you will pray differently, walk differently, command differently, because something ancient has just awakened in you, and you're not going back to who you were before. Welcome to the flow. Stay close. It's only just beginning. You were always on the rescue list, not as a backup plan, not as a last-minute decision. You were on it before time began, before you cried your first tear, before you failed your first test, before you knew what pain even was. Heaven had already marked your name. The divine blueprint included this exact moment. God doesn't write stories with erased chapters. He redeems them. Every detour, every delay, every disaster you thought disqualified you has been folded into the plan. You weren't forgotten, you were preserved. Sometimes the delay was protection. Sometimes the silence was divine restraint. Sometimes the pause was the setup for the supernatural. And now the moment has arrived. The angels have completed their mission. The call has been made. And now, heaven is watching your next move. Because this is not just a rescue, it's a release. This isn't where you get pulled out of the pit only to sit in safety. This is where you step into fire-tested authority. The mantle placed on your shoulders doesn't come from emotion, it comes from endurance. You didn't quit. You didn't die in the dark. And because of that, God has decided it's time. You're not stepping into blessing. You're stepping into glory. That word isn't poetic. It's prophetic. Glory doesn't just mean joy. Glory means weight. The manifest presence of God resting on your life in a way that the enemy can no longer deny and your past can no longer compete with. The rescue was real. But now comes the transformation. You're not going to walk the same. You're not going to pray the same. You're not going to see the world through the lens of pain anymore. The fog has lifted. The guilt has been silenced. The verdict is in. And the verdict says, approved, appointed, anointed. This window won't stay open forever. Not because God is cruel, but because divine timing demands movement. When the Spirit stirred the waters at Bethesda, the ones who moved were the ones who were healed. When the Red Sea parted, the ones who walked forward were the ones who crossed. And now, the waters are stirring for you. You don't need another confirmation. This moment is your confirmation. This is why you've been feeling the urgency in your chest. That invisible pressure, the dream activity increasing, the odd restlessness that won't go away. It's not anxiety. It's divine summon. The Spirit is saying, move now. Don't look back. Don't hesitate. You don't have to force the doors open. The angels already unlocked them, but they will not drag you through. This is the part where you must rise. Dust off the lies. Shake off the shame. Step out of the pit mindset and into kingdom posture. You were never built for survival mode. You were built for dominion. It was declared in Isaiah chapter 60. Verse 1, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This is your arise moment, not just emotionally, spiritually, prophetically. This is the moment heaven has waited on for you to stand in what's already been settled. You've been wrestling with chains that no longer exist. You've been praying for a rescue that has already arrived. The angels didn't just come to fight for you. They came to escort you out. Now it's your turn to walk. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Walk while you're still shaking. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Walk while the fog is still clearing. Because the promise isn't after you walk, it's in the walking. Something happens when the chosen move in faith. The atmosphere shifts. The enemy retreats. Heaven releases reinforcements. And the weight of glory begins to rest, heavier, thicker, deeper. You'll feel it. Not as pressure, but as presence. It will sit on you like peace that can't be shaken. It will go with you into rooms that once rejected you. It will guide you into decisions you used to second guess. It will rest on your voice, your prayers, your hands, because heaven has said, now, go, step into the glory. You are not leaving this season with wounds. You are leaving with weapons. Not with trauma, but with truth. Not with fear, but with fire. The rescue was the beginning. This is the release. And from this point on, nothing remains the same. You have come through the fire, not to be consumed, but to be clarified. This was never just a word, it was a mirror, a reminder, a confirmation that you have not been forgotten, overlooked, or left behind. You were chosen long before you knew how to fight, marked long before you knew your own worth. And even in your lowest moments, heaven never moved its eyes off you. The rescue wasn't sudden. It was scheduled, orchestrated, prepared from the foundations of time. Every angel assigned, every word released, every door opened divinely timed for such a moment as this. You've seen the pit. You've endured the silence. You've stood on the edge of giving up, and now you know why. Because glory follows the surrendered, and your surrender has made space for the shift. Not a surface change, but a deep, soul-level repositioning. What once held you no longer fits. What once controlled you no longer defines you. What once confused you now stands revealed. The breaking was real, but so is the rising. You're not who you were when this began. You've remembered who you are, and more than that, you've remembered whose you are. The angels were sent for a reason. The word was delivered on time. And now, what heaven started, heaven will finish. This is not the end. It's the turning, the unfolding, the beginning of what was always written. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not waiting anymore. You are chosen. You are ready. You are free.